Full moon in Gemini at the beginning of December. What is this full moon going to reveal to us in the sign of information, truth, common sense? It's going to be a lot of information overload, very interesting realizations, downloads, and truths being revealed, which continues to be an astrological theme that we've been in for quite a while. Hello, everyone. My name is megmoonbeam, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm very happy to get into our upcoming full moon in Gemini happening exact on Thursday, December 4th, 2025. We're going to get into what this means for the whole collective and each of the 12 signs. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. I'd really appreciate if you like this video, subscribe to my channel, consider leaving a comment below to help with the channel's growth, and maybe share it with someone that you think might be interested in astrology or what I have to offer. And also, I've got quite a few exciting offerings at the moment. My 2026 astrology webinar for all 12 signs is coming up. It's going to start December 4th, the day of the full moon in Gemini, second day, December 5th, third day, December 7th, and fourth day, December 8th. No other astrologer offers a live, in-depth webinar for the collective and all 12 signs for the Gregorian year ahead of 2026 like I do. We have lots of fun. There's unlimited replay access if you can't join in on some of the lives, so no worries. You can go sign up at megmoonbeam.com. Also, I am offering personal readings and gift certificates this holiday season and beyond for my readings. You can go check those out at the link below. And over at the Scorpling shop, Sunny from Pluto and I's Crystal and Astrology Boutique, we currently have a holiday sale, 10% off with code HOLIDAY SALE from now until the end of the month of December. And we do have our astrological crystal kits back in stock. So let's get into this full moon in Gemini. This full moon in Gemini has a very interesting energy. So this full moon in Gemini is happening at 13 degrees, which is an Aries degree. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And it's going to be exact Thursday, December 4th at 6:14 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, full moons are always our time in the lunar cycle of illumination. It is when, of course, the moon is brightest in the night sky, revealing and showing us what's going on in the dark. We can get a lot of clarity and illumination actually during full moons. There are times of cleansing, release, and completion. So there's usually something that's coming to a completion point when we hit the full moon lunation. Also a great time for us to be doing any sort of cleansing work. And the sign of Gemini is one of the lighter signs in Western astrology. Gemini is all about communication, our day-to-day life, our local community, neighborhood, neighbors, friends, siblings, can be co-workers, people in our day-to-day. I always call Gemini the very busy sign, the third house of astrology, which is the Gemini ruled areas of life, the very busy house. There can feel like there's a lot going on with a full moon in Gemini. Gemini moves very fast. It's the first air sign. It's about information, common sense, truths, ways that we share information, social media, news outlets, also independent journalism, documents, books, papers, letters, texts, emails, all forms of how we communicate. Gemini is also short distance travel, learning, school, and can also represent school children. Among many other things, Gemini rules many things, but those are some of the main themes that we're dealing with this full moon. So full moons in Gemini are always a great time to be spending actually in our local community or with local community members. This is a great time of year to maybe go to a full moon ceremony, a full moon drumming circle, a full moon yoga practice, whatever you like to do. We can be meeting new friends. We can have heightened experiences with our friends or neighbor relationships. And it's also a great time to be working consciously with our words, our voice, and our writing to let go, to manifest, to cleanse ourselves. So some of the ways that are great to work with this full moon is it's an amazing time to be open to profound insights, okay, in particular, because this full moon in Gemini has the dispositor Mercury at 22 degrees of Scorpio. We're going to talk about what 22 degrees means. It's a very intense degree, but dispositor is in the sign of Scorpio, the most intense sign in astrology. And of course, recently we've just come out of Scorpio season. Mercury has now gone direct, so dispositor is now direct, still in the post-shadow period. But Mercury in Scorpio is all about intense information, secrets coming to light, intense conversations, intense day-to-day activities, news breaking, as well, independent journalists revealing secrets of politicians, the occult, powerful people, things that have been hidden behind the surface. So very profound insights are going to be revealed for the whole collective and also for each of the 12 signs. We're going to go through the predictions for each of the 12 signs in a little bit. So I would say be open and ready, as we already have been since our Scorpio season that we were just in, the new moon in Scorpio influence that we were just in. There's this very big astrological theme of big secrets and truths being revealed that we really are still in. And it's interesting that dispositor Mercury is at 22 degrees of Scorpio, because 22, for those of you who don't know, in the genius Nicholas Stoyanovic's degree theory, one of the most master astrologers of our times, he invented the degree theory. 22 degrees is the to kill or be killed degree. And a lot of people who have been assassinated or have had assassination attempts on them have 22 degrees in their astrology. I find it really interesting that as we're really in the portal of this full moon in Gemini, we're still in the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk assassination. We're still in the aftermath of the Donald Trump assassination attempt of last year in 2024. And most recently, it's come out allegedly, as per Candace Owens, who I think is an amazing investigative independent journalist, that allegedly the French presidential couple, Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte, have put out a hit on Candace Owens. If you haven't heard about that, you might want to go check that out. There is supposedly, allegedly, some pretty intense proof that's come Candace Owens' ways that the French couple wants to assassinate Candace. And Candace has started speaking about that this week. Ever since she found out that information, I think a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, she took a week off of her podcast, which is the #1 podcast in the whole world, by the way. Is it called The Candace Owens Shows, or just Candace on her YouTube and her website? So I think there's going to be more revealed about that, more revealed about assassinations that have happened in recent paths, Charlie Kirk, Trump attempt, Candace attempt, and maybe even assassinations that have to do with the past. Okay, JFK, MLK, others, saying that because Jupiter exalted in Cancer, Cancer rules the past in trine to Mercury, the dispositor of this full moon. So assassination attempts is a very big topic. And so there's going to be a lot of big news leaks, I think, happening with this information being revealed. So way to be open to this full moon, to work with it, is to be open to what is going to be revealed to the collective. And remember, you guys, that lunations, new moons and full moons, they don't just have an effect the day of the full moon or the 3 days before or after. I've personally really noticed through my astrological practice that the whole next 28 days after lunation, we can even still really be in the influence of it. And really the next 6 months is kind of an overarching theme until our new moon in Gemini that's going to be happening in 2026. Other ways that we can work with this energy is it's an amazing full moon to have healing conversations, to do journaling, learning of any sort, speaking your truth, saying what you need to say, okay? I feel like all this Sagittarius, stellium of planets in Sagittarius, a fire sign, yay, we've been really lacking the fire in the current astrology. It's giving us more of a pep in our step, more confidence, okay? And this full moon, we can be feeling more confident about maybe saying something that we've been holding inside, having an important conversation, speaking our truth. Maybe even I'm feeling intuitively now, like if you have a certain gift or talent or professional project that you want to be putting out there, but you've been too scared to put it on social media. I hear that all the time from people. Now is a time where let your voice be heard. Okay. Whatever the heck that is. Maybe you do something woo-woo that you've been a little fearful to put yourself out there a little more. This is an amazing full moon to be doing that. Maybe you do something a little bit alternative that you've been, kind of holding back on how much you're into that, how you may actually have gifts or a lot of information on that. So I think this can be very empowering through our spoken word, what we're sharing on social media, online, through email, newsletters, blogs, any form of written communication. Great full moon for us to be learning and studying. As I said, spending time in local community or with friends, siblings, cousins, and neighbors. And since it is a full moon, so it is about letting go and cleansing, I invite you to also work with this full moon is pay attention to, are there any information sources that no longer resonate with you, okay, that you maybe need to cut the cord with? This could be podcasters. Gemini has to do with podcasters. This could be news presenters, news channels, newspapers, magazines, people that you've been following online. I invite you all to pay attention. And as I'm saying this to you guys, I'm also saying this to myself, who you take in information from. The podcasts that you listen to, people you follow online, people you go listen to in person, anybody that you take any information or learning from. Does that actually really resonate with you anymore? Let's go to, Mercury in Scorpio, the disposer of this full moon. Mercury in Scorpio at a Capricorn degree, 22 degrees, is no bullshit. Like, are you maybe just being a part of something to please someone? Are you keeping up with a certain information channel because that's what everybody else does? What actually resonates with you and what doesn't? And I've been noticing, okay, there's quite a few sources out there that are really in a place of fear-mongering at the moment. I had a special guest, my best friend, Sunny from Pluto, on my daily astrology horoscope show that I did yesterday on December 3rd. And we very impromptu, it was very Gemini. We're in the portal of this full moon in Gemini. It was the longest daily astrology horoscope I ever did. We were very, very chit-chatty. And we were talking about how we both noticed there's a lot of people fear-mongering at the moment. And it feels like there's a lot of energies we were picking up on that want to keep us in a low vibration, that want to keep us in a low timeline, that want to keep us in fear. And it feels like this month of December 2025 is really critical to do that before we step into the Gregorian year of 2026, which, even though that is a false and unnatural calendar, it still has an influence on us because we're all on it. Most people in the world are following it. There's also, the numerology behind the year and what it adds up to and yada, yada, yada. So just, be mindful of what you're taking in. Also, if you're taking in information, especially from woo-woo people, I'm assuming a lot of you guys maybe do that like myself. Since you're here, I'm an astrology and mystical channel. If you're listening to woo-woo people that put out predictions and they put out information that actually never comes to pass, you might want to take a look at that. Okay. So a lot is going to be revealed also about podcasters, news anchors, people that put information out, any sort of orators. There can be things revealed about those people big time. 2, there's some really nice aspects to this full moon in Gemini. I love that we've still got grand water trine. We've been going through on and off grand water trine with the Sun, Venus, Mars. Now at the time of this full moon, Mercury, 22 degrees of Scorpio in grand water trine to Jupiter, retrograde, exalted in Cancer, 24 degrees, and granddaddy Saturn, 25 degrees Pisces, now direct. Thank God Saturn is direct as of November 27th. Also, Neptune is kind of in that grand water trine, 29 degrees of Pisces in conjunction to Saturn. But mainly it's between Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn making that trine. This is very, very positive, very, very auspicious also to be having this grand water trine. at the time of the full moon. And actually, Mercury will be exactly trine Jupiter on December 6th, 2 days after the full moon. Mercury will be exactly trine Granddaddy Saturn exact on December 7th. So just want to give you guys the exact dates there. But this is a very supportive energy with planets in the water element, including the dispositor of this full moon, for healing and cleansing and self-care and spirituality and intuition. I want you guys to be mindful of something. And I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately, but I'm going to keep repeating it so that I get it down everybody's throats. Okay. 2026, we've got all the outermost planets going into fire and air. So if you've been bored, if you've been feeling low, if you've been feeling like things aren't moving fast enough, are things ever going to get better? When are we going to see action? It's going to start in 2026. I guarantee you that. Okay. In particular, starting late summer, going to be the most intense late spring, going to be the most intense starting in the summer once we have Jupiter in Leo with all the outer planets already in air and fire signs. So, side note, December is our last full month of Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn in water or earth sign. Okay. So this beautiful grand water trine, even though it's a full moon in Gemini, which is an air sign, we're in the air element, it's communication and speaking and information and ideas and networking and all that. There's a big water element of healing, cleansing, as I said, intuition, our dreams, self-care, taking a little bit easy, making time to be in our divine feminine. You're going to want to really work with this, okay? Because when are we going to have a lot of water again? We're going to have a lot of water. The next time we're going to have this much water going on isn't going to be until Pisces season, which is going to be late February 2026, going into beginning and middle of March. So actually, Pisces season, we'll have a Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Of course, we'll have Cancer season and Scorpio season. And Mercury retrogrades in 2026 happening in all the water signs, but we're not going to be in water and earth overall. We're entering fire and air. So this is a great full moon to tie loose ends, do some really deep cleansing, do some really deep reflection, self-care. I love this for all that kind of stuff. And Granddaddy Saturn, he's bringing us great stability when it comes to cleansing and release. And I think this is also a great full moon to cleanse out the home. Mercury in grand water trine, including Jupiter in Cancer, the home, doing feng shui, spending time with family, having important conversations with family members, clearing out ancestral karma can be very potent. I love that we have Mars trine Chiron happening in this full moon, and Mars trine Chiron will actually be exact on December 5th. You guys, there's a lot of 22 degrees with this full moon. Mercury, 22 degrees. Mars, 22 degrees. Oh my gosh, I have to sneeze. Excuse me. Oh! I am so sorry. Truth is spoken when we sneeze. I do believe that. Okay, so this is important. Remember what I said about 2022 degrees? It's the to kill or be killed assassination degree. It's also a Capricorn degree. So it has to do with public people, success, work, responsibility, groundedness, people that are public facing, government, politicians. Mercury, Mars, trine Chiron, 3 placements at 22 degrees. Very, very interesting. Now, I love that Mars trine Chiron because that's a great supportive aspect for really going deep into our healing journey. Any wounds or triggers that may be coming up with this full moon, we can have breakthroughs with them. We can feel more inspired with Mars 22 degrees of Sag to move forward, to be going past limiting beliefs, to be going past also limiting ways that we speak, Gemini, or share information. So there's a lot of cool things happening with this full moon. Other strong positive aspects include Venus sextile Pluto, and we are going to have, the nodes exactly square this full moon. So not everything is hunky-dory, easy to go with. The nodes at 13 degrees Virgo Pisces in square to the moon, this can bring a potential for emotional conflict or a sense of challenge in terms of information overload, what's real, what's not real, what's in alignment for us to be asserting our energy towards or not. We can feel resistance and challenge in, some clarity that can be coming up of maybe big changes we need to make, but it's not easy to let things go that no longer serve us, that maybe we've been holding on to for a long time. Now, this lunation, as I said, is at 13 degrees, which is an Aries degree, deals with action, our boundaries, men in the spotlight, our divine masculine as well, boldness, where we put our energy. So those can be big themes with this full moon too. So I think overall, and I may repeat some things here, but I'll say some new things here as well. Some of my predictions with this full moon is continued huge secrets and truths being revealed about criminality, politicians, powerful people, financial system, and hidden money as well. And I keep having these visions and feelings that sooner or later we are going to have independent journalists, or maybe even new forms of sharing information coming out and disclosing things that we've been waiting on for a long time. I think it's going to take a miracle at this point for governments to disclose certain things that we've been waiting for, and might not happen. And it might be other sources that we start to get some really big information disclosure that we've been waiting for. Also, there may be important information and truth coming to life that may be a little bit challenging to hear with Mercury in Scorpio. We can experience positive news where we have Mercury, since he is in a grand water trine to Jupiter and Saturn. And isn't it interesting that President Trump has announced, some of you may have heard of this, some of you maybe have not, that 92 or 93% of the official signing off declarations that Joe Biden did while he was president are now null and void because of the auto pen, the exposing of the auto pen. Gemini, pens, writing, document. So I think we're going to hear more about that. And okay, what does that mean is now null and void? Are we going to see Anthony Fauci maybe go on trial? Are we going to see Hunter Biden have to speak out? Going to be very interesting. Also interesting that this full moon is conjunct Candace Owens' natal Jupiter at 9 degrees of Gemini. So giving her some, I think, divine protection, benefic influence, which is very positive for her at this time. And also Brigitte Macron has this full moon in his allegedly 10th house. So she is very much in, the spotlight. Okay, let's pull some tarot cards for this full moon, and then we'll get into our collective forecasts for each of the 12 signs. And let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from all of you how you feel about this full moon in Gemini. Going to be very, very interesting. So I'm going to ask the universe, what is our divine guidance for our highest good to work with? How can we work with this energy? I'm going to be a little bit different. How can we work with this energy? I'm going to pull 3 cards on that, and then I'm going to pull 1 card on what should we be prepared for that this full moon is going to offer us. Okay, how can we work with the energy? 9 of Swords keeps coming up. The Empress. Ace of Wands. Ooh. Okay. And what can we be prepared for that might be coming up? I think there's going to be multiple things coming up that will be revealed, major news stories, major developments, but what's overall, what is something major you'd like to share with us for us to be prepared for coming up? The 2 of Pentacles. Yeah, multiple things. Okay, multiple things. I'm going to pull a bonus card. Lots of things. Busy, busy, busy. Information overload. Knight of Wands. Okay, interesting. So we keep getting this card lately. At least I do, which is the Nine of Swords. Okay. And this is a card about unnecessary worry, fear, anxiety. Okay. Interesting. It is a Gemini related card. The affirmation says, worrying changes nothing. Decide your next step. So how can we work with this full moon? Let's step out of worry. Let's step out of anxiety. And I'm someone, I actually shared this, I think it was on my recent December astrology forecast for the whole collective on my channel, that I am someone that has had panic attacks, anxiety throughout my life. It kind of comes and it goes. Knock on wood, I haven't had it in years, because when you have that, it feels like you're dying and it's an absolute nightmare. But when you are in anxiety or you are in a negative loop, you have to consciously take yourself out of that. Okay, you need to move, you need to exercise, you need to do something creative, you need to go do something uplifting. This is making me feel like this Nine of Swords card, that if you're really feeling like you're in a place of fear or anxiety or hopelessness, you're leaking your energy somewhere. And that leak might have to do with what this full moon in Gemini is bringing up. Like, what information sources are you taking in? Also could be a friend, also could be something you're doing in your local environment. Look at where you're putting your energy. Is there anything that doesn't resonate? Because that could actually be leaking, or that fear, anxiety might actually be your body telling you that something is no longer in alignment, or something might be an illusion. Okay. Empress. I'm hearing our words have power. So a great way to work with this full moon is to re-examine how you communicate, how you speak, because that affects your abundance, your pleasure, your enjoyment in life. And abundance is not just money. Okay. Abundance is enjoyment, pleasure, positivity, fun, beautiful people around you, beautiful experiences, a positive life, right? She says, be happy with the results of your actions. So doing like setting intentions, doing affirmations, working with your spoken word or writing, journaling is very powerful to also recalibrate your relationship to abundance in all forms at this full moon. And ooh, I like this. We also got the Ace of Wands. Take action on your ideas. That is so cool for this full moon. Will to create energy, inspiration, creation, force, strength, gain. We're out of Mercury retrograde. Saturn is now direct. Neptune is going direct on December 10th. Thank God. This is a time we can actually take action on our ideas. There's going to be good ideas that come forward with this full moon in Gemini. So maybe make time for some meditation, or I don't know about you guys. I'm very ADD. So I love when I can meditate and just be in that stillness and go into that deep space. But for me, I am like a very hyperactive, creative person. So actually for me, when I'm exercising or dancing or walking or bike riding, a lot of those are Gemini things. Bike riding, walking, these are Gemini things. That's also a form of meditation where ideas can come as well. So whatever is your form of meditation would be good to do at the time of this full moon, and take action on those ideas. There can be very positive ideas. What we can be prepared for with this full moon, as I said, there's going to be a lot going on. Two of Pentacles, more than one thing. Remember, Gemini rules more than one thing, things being doubled in astrology. And the Knight of Wands, this makes me feel like a lot that has to do with power structures, men, could even be military operations, military groups. Interesting that the pyramids are in that card. Maybe there's going to be things coming out about ancient history as well. And it's going to be a lot. It feels like it's going to move fast with the energy of this full moon. So it's also important to do nervous system regulation when we've got intense Mercury or Gemini transits. Okay, let's get into each of the 12 sign readings for this full moon in Gemini. Okay, and today we're going to be starting with our Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising and working our way backwards through the 12 signs. I like to switch it up every now and then, start with Aries, every now and then start with Pisces. And when I'm doing these forecasts for each of the 12 signs, I invite you guys to listen to your rising sign first and foremost, because that's actually where the planets are traveling over your chart, and I am doing whole sign house system for the general predictions. Then I recommend you listen to your sun sign second most. And then your moon sign you also want to listen to, because this can show more of your inner psychology going on, your private life, home, family, inner world predictions going on for the full moon. So, okay, Geminis, you are going to be having this full moon. Sorry, Pisces. I'm still messing up my words. It's Mercury retrograde post shadow. Pisces, you are having this full moon in Gemini in your fourth astrological house. Ooh, I love this for you guys, Pisces. Very nice. Well, you are having this full moon in a water house, the fourth house. So you probably are going to be feeling, sensitive. You are the most sensitive sign in astrology. You're going to be feeling maybe even more sensitive than usual. This is a beautiful full moon to be spending time at home with your family. I highly recommend maybe doing a little clean out of the home. Or I'm hearing Spirit say if you have an office space in the home in particular. We've got Jupiter exalted in Cancer, the sign of the fourth house, home, family, our emotions, sensitivity, in a beautiful grand water trine at this full moon, also to the dispositor Mercury. So there's an influence for everybody around our ancestors, ancestral healing, home and family with this full moon, but it's going to be very, very strong for you. And many of you guys, Pisces, might actually have beautiful healing conversations or breakthroughs with family members. Okay, so if there's something that you've maybe been wanting to talk to a family member about, this full moon in Gemini is actually a really good time to be doing it. And Gemini in particular rules our siblings, cousins, can also be aunts and uncles, but mostly our siblings or cousins. So beautiful for those relationships. In particular, love this full moon for you for any sort of cleansing, release, cleaning out house, self-care. And you've got the dispositor Mercury in your ninth astrological house in a beautiful grand water trine with Saturn and Jupiter. So there can be good news coming from a foreign person, maybe a foreign family member regarding foreign travel, anything of a foreign nature, foreign. Good news about publishing, good news about legalities as well, good news about a course that you've maybe wanting to be studying, or maybe you've completed a course, you've gotten a certificate, you've passed the exam, you've passed the test, all that sort of stuff can be coming up. And good news of also, and good energy of consciousness expansion as well. So hope that resonated for you, Geminis, sending lots of love your way and have a magical full moon. Next, we've got our Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Risings. How's it going, Aquarius? You're going to be having this full moon in Gemini happening in your fifth astrological house. Oh, this is the fun house. This is fun for you, Aquarians. And you're having the beautiful grand water trine, including the dispositor of this full moon, Mercury, in your earth houses. Okay, interesting. We'll get to that. So this full moon in Gemini is beautiful full moon for having fun, play, creativity. It's interesting. There's something very similar about Gemini, the sign that this full moon is in, and Leo, the sign that is, the fifth house. The fifth house is the Leo-ruled areas of life. Gemini and Leo in astrology both rule children, young people, fun, play, can also have to do with silliness, being lighthearted. There's a big similarity between the signs of Gemini and Leo. They're very fun, very playful. So this is a beautiful full moon for you, Aquarius, of a lightening of the energies, connecting to your inner child, maybe spending time with children around you. There could be the completion of something that's maybe been an issue or a challenge for a child in your life. And I love this also with Gemini, your words, communication, also your talents. Geminis are very multi-talented. Leo in astrology does rule our talents and our gifts. Gemini rules I mean, Geminis can do anything. They're like jacks of all trades. Multi-talentedness. So great full moon for you to be showcasing your gifts and talents, being in your confidence, which with the grand water trine in your earth houses can be very beneficial to your work, your professional life, for abundance as well. And Mercury, the dispositor, is in your 10th house of work, long-term goals, success, and older people in your life. So there can be good news happening in any of those areas. I like this for you, Aquarius. I'm sending lots of love your way and have a very happy full moon in Gemini. Hello, my fellow Capricorns. How are you guys doing out there? We are having this full moon in Gemini in our 6th astrological house. So this full moon is bringing lightness, information, good news, also fun and play into our day-to-day environment, routines, office space, day-to-day work, our health as well, and having to do with our pets. I think this is an amazing full moon for us Capricorns to be cleaning out our office space, to be taking a look at maybe what needs to be released having to do with our work or income. There can be good news related to pets, work, health as well. And remember, Gemini deals with our communication, our written and spoken word. And our words do have an effect on our health, our abundance in work as well. So maybe take a look, Capricorns. You know, we can be one of the more low depressive signs. Okay, it gives me no joy in saying that, but we can be, you know, we're ruled by Saturn. Being mindful that we're using positive words, positive affirmations when it comes to these 6th house ruled areas of life. And I do think, even though it's a full moon and full moons can be about endings, there is something very positive about this full moon, very hopeful about this full moon. So that energy is also coming into your health, work, and pet space. And we've got a beautiful grand water trine with Mercury, the dispositor of this full moon, in your air houses. So relationships are going to be very highlighted. Social life, social networks and contacts. In particular, Mercury is in your 11th house of the Aquarius ruled areas. Helpful people, friends, like-minded communities, teams, online friends, online work, social media. So these are areas where you can be receiving good news or a positive boost. Also something maybe big being revealed. Maybe you're going to be a Capricorn talking about something really intense online and you're blowing everybody's minds. Or there could be a long-term goal, wish, or dream that's being fulfilled. The 11th house has to do with our long-term goals, wishes, and dreams as well. I think this is a great full moon. Also, if you do want to be doing a little bit of a physical cleanse of any sort, I always like to suggest that when we've got 6th house transits, especially if it is a full moon. So hope that resonated, Capricorn. Sending lots of love your way and have a magical full moon in Gemini. Okay, Sagittarius, how is it going? You are going to be having this full moon in Gemini in your 7th astrological house, really highlighting your committed relationships, contracts, obligations, and overall aesthetic. I always like to say that when we have major transits in our 7th house of other people, right? It's the opposite of the 1st house of self. There can be an emphasis on other people in your life. There can be something big going on with a love partner, a friend, a committed work colleague, someone that you're in a committed relationship. A lot of the time when we've got 7th house transits, we may need to be in a supportive role for a loved one. With Gemini being in your 7th house and it being a full moon, maybe there's some intense, very enlightening conversations that you are having with a loved one. Maybe they're going through a wake up or consciousness expansion process. Maybe there's someone that's asking your advice, your expertise, needing a lot of attention from you. We don't want to get drained, okay, Sagittarius, but likely there's going to be people wanting to hear your feedback, wanting to converse with you, wanting to hear your wisdom on things that you are knowledgeable about. There may also be the completion or an ending of a love relationship or a work relationship or contract. Or seventh house of Libra is also our style and aesthetic, a way that you've been presenting yourself, which does matter. Okay, the clothes and the way that we present ourselves does have energy, and the colors and all that. So it can be a good full moon to maybe clean out the closet as well. You're having the grand water trine in this full moon in your water houses. So there can be a lot of emotions coming up to the surface. You've got the dispositor Mercury in your 12th house of Pisces in Scorpio. So you may be having some intense dreams, some really deep information, realizations coming forth to you in your dreams. And I would suggest it is a good full moon time to make time for proper rest and rejuvenation, and maybe even spending some time behind the scenes, relaxing, doing spiritual practices, creativity as well. So let me know how you're doing, Sagittarius. Sending lots of love your way, and have a magical full moon in Gemini. My fellow crazy Scorpios, how are we doing out there? How are we doing out there? Don't know why I'm talking in that accent. Gemini brings out all the different accents for me. But we're having this full moon in Gemini in our 8th house of Scorpio. We have Gemini in our home house. So what does that mean, Scorpios, that we have Gemini in our 8th house? Well, we love to, the 8th house of Scorpio is merging with others, passions, sex, our shadow side as well. So one of the things that we're very passionate about, and is actually a really big gift for us, is Gemini. How we can dive deep into information, how we can read between the lines when it comes to information. We are natural researchers, investigators, conspiracy theorists, which, by the way, Geminis are also natural investigators and detectives, just like us Scorpios. So with this Gemini full moon happening in our 8th house, we can be really actually feeling even more like a Scorpio because it's happening in our 8th house. We may be feeling really a little bit obsessive or passionate about researching something very in depth. I want you Scorpios to be mindful of how much time you're maybe spending on the computer, on social media, on listening to other people's perspectives, which can be good to take in the information, but we also want to be connecting to ourselves. This can be a little bit of an information overload for us. There can be some very powerful secrets being revealed, okay, about romantic partners, ourselves, friends, siblings, cousins, neighbors, things that have to do with our local neighborhood. There can be enlightening information coming up having to do with our hidden finances, inheritances, investments, hidden money, all that kind of jazz. And we're having the grand water trine of this new moon in our fire houses. So we can be feeling like energized, invigorated. I just keep getting this sense. Us Scorpios, we're feeling a little bit like even more in our Scorpio, like very obsessive, very passionate, very fiery. We're being reinvigorated. Mercury's direct in our sign. So if you've actually got any major placements around 22 degrees of Scorpio, I've got my Pluto, 22 degrees of Scorpio. Shout out Pluto and Scorpio generation. Mercury at the time of this full moon is exactly conjunct some of our Scorpio placements, or within 5 degrees either side. So yeah, our fire houses, it's energizing us. We're feeling passionate. We're feeling fiery. And with the ruler of this full moon, Mercury, in our sign of Scorpio in the first house, we can feel like we're being empowered, invigorated, very enlightening information or conversations that benefit us and make us feel maybe more confident or empowered. Maybe we're also hearing feedback from others, Gemini, around what our gifts or talents are, how good we are at something, not because we're perfect, but I'm getting this sense that there might be a lot of us Scorpios, and let me know if this resonates with any of you guys, that maybe you feel like you're feeling a little bit jaded, or you're feeling like you're not good enough, or you're feeling like, you're not an expert at something, but actually you're probably really good at whatever your gifts or talents are, because you are Scorpio and you do go very deep. So be open to people's feedback. Gemini, positive feedback about your gifts and talents. Okay, Scorpios, hope that resonated. Sending lots of love your way and have an absolutely magical full moon in Gemini. Okay, next we've got our lovely Libras. Happy full moon, Libras. You're having this full moon in Gemini in your 9th house of the Sagittarius ruled areas of life. And we do have the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter, exalted in Cancer in grand water trine at the time of this full moon. So there is a big Jupiterian influence, although Jupiter is retrograde, about expansion, our higher consciousness, foreign travel, higher learning. These are all themes that you can really maybe be thinking about, turned on to at the time of this full moon. I see a lot of Libras maybe completing a course or a study certificate. Maybe it can be kind of enlighten to you a new subject or a new course or workshop that you want to be getting into with Gemini in the 9th house. There can be travel plans coming up. Mercury is now direct, so this is a better time to be traveling or to be planning travel for sure. A lot of you Libras will actually be traveling in a foreign place, maybe with a friend, sibling, or cousin. So this is a great full moon to be expanding your consciousness, traveling in your inner world, like literally doing foreign travel as well. We've got Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, in your 2nd house in a grand water trine. So there can be positive news about income, physical resources, work at the time of this full moon as well. That beautiful grand water trine in your earth houses of work and income. Maybe there's new work opportunities that have to do with travel or publishing, 9th house, or teaching, guiding, sharing information. So sending lots of love to you, Libras. Hope that resonated and have an absolutely magical full moon in Gemini. Hey Virgos, how's it going? You're going to be having this full moon in Gemini on December 4th in your 10th astrological house. So this full moon is highlighting your work, professional life, public reputation, elders, authority figures, older people than you in your life, and your long-term goals and success. So this is a beautiful full moon where there can be like a goal that you have accomplished, something that has come full circle when it comes to work or your goals. And this is a great full moon to be speaking your voice, speaking your truth when it comes to your professional life. We've got the grand water trine of this full moon, including the ruler Mercury, in your air houses. So this full moon is, it is in an air sign, which is about our relationships and networking. But with Mercury at home in the 3rd house, it's really highlighting your gift of communication, your gift of your personal voice and your talents and what you have to share. I think it's really important for Virgos to be speaking up and owning your value in a really authentic way when it comes to your work. I'm getting the download that some of you Virgos have maybe been putting off talking about getting a raise, talking about, things that you might want changed in your job, whether you work for a company or someone else, or being real and authentic about yourself with yourself of, what do you want to be doing work-wise? And does that actually spark joy in you, what you are doing? Truths coming out about work, your career path, and your long-term goals. Good news coming from friends, siblings, local community members, co-workers as well. There can be positive feedback, positive marketing. 3rd house can be marketing and business as well. So great for work and very enlightening in your relationships as well. Okay, Virgos, let me know how all you are feeling, sending lots of love your way, and have a very happy full moon. Leo, sun, moon, and risings, you are having this full moon in Gemini happening in your 11th house. Now, Gemini is an air sign. The 11th house of the Aquarius ruled areas of life is an air house as well. So this can be a very busy, very active social life going on around this full moon. Maybe I'm hearing Spirit say, Leos, maybe you might be hearing from a friend that you haven't heard from in a while. Okay, we've got the dispositor Mercury in Scorpio in your fourth house. The fourth house deals with the past. I'm getting this visual of like a ghost from your past. Sorry if this sounds a little creepy, but there's someone for a lot of you Leos, that's coming back from the past. They're coming out of the mud. They're coming out of the grave, if you will, wanting to reach out. Okay. And it may be a little bit intense because maybe it's somebody that you had a falling out with. Maybe and this in particular has to do with friends or community associates or old work colleagues. Somebody is being attracted to your energy once again, or there's a friendship, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a negative thing. There's, for a lot of you, someone from the past coming up, or ghosts from the past coming up in terms of friends, in terms of old work relationships. There may be, because full moons have to do with endings, the ending of a friendship, the ending of a community association that you've had. The end of the 11th house can also have to do with our long-term dreams, the ending of a dream or the restructuring, recalibration of a long-term dream that you've had. I think a lot of you Leos, you're going to be extremely creative, extremely creatively inspired at the time of this full moon as well. And I want you Leos, I love you Leos, I just want you to be mindful at this time of the people in your life. Okay, you guys do have Pluto in the 7th house. I've been talking about that for a while for a lot of you guys. And it's weird that I'm getting this visual of like a ghost coming back from the past. This could be a literal person, like an old friend, an old coworker, or like a secret coming up from the past that has to be faced. Doesn't feel negative. It feels enlightening for you guys. So yeah, let me know how you guys feel about that. And great full moon for you to be spending time with friends, like-minded community. Maybe go, 11th house of Aquarius rules new things, new people, new groups. Leos, maybe go do something freaking crazy. Maybe go to a new group or event that you've never been to before. You could actually meet a like-minded friend, meet a cool new group of people that resonates with you. So yeah, let me know how you guys are doing. Leos, sending lots of love your way, and have a very magical new moon. Okay, next we've got our Cancers, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Risings. You're having this full moon in Gemini in your 12th astrological house of the Pisces ruled areas of life. So Cancers, you're feeling dreamy, sensitive, but also there's activity going on in your mind. I think Cancers, you're going to be having very active dreams, very active visions. You're feeling very creative. This is a great full moon to be doing cleansing and spiritual release work through your words, through journaling, through affirmation, your voice, maybe even singing as well. Profound information and insights coming from you spending time on your own. 12th house rules, being by yourself, isolation. Sometimes we need to be on our own. Okay, Cancers, that's something I have personally learned in my life. I used to spend a lot of time always around people, always outside of the house. I have my South Node in Gemini, by the way. So I'm very comfortable being around people, socializing. I like to do that stuff. But we don't always need to be around people. And Cancers, I know that you know this because you're a water sign. But what happens when you're actually alone, 12th house of Pisces, is you disconnect from the bullshit of everybody else. And you're actually forced to face yourself. And to get truths, I forget who said this, but a wise man once said that if you need any clarity about anything, spend time in silence by yourself. And within 1 hour, you will get the clarity around what you may be confused about, or maybe what you need to realize about something. So a little bit of full moon in Gemini wisdom for you guys there. Very enlightening, informative full moon. You've got the ruler Mercury in your 5th house. So that's a very, again, positive influence, creative, healing for your inner child, and that grand water trine in your fire houses. So you can be feeling inspired with the energy of this full moon. You can be feeling like you're wanting to be more in your gifts, talents, your life force energy. But sometimes to take back our life force energy, I'm just feeling this very strong for the Cancers for some reason. You actually just need to be by yourself for a little bit, and you need to unplug from other people's stuff. And, you know, Cancers, you are one of the signs, and I've got my Mars in Cancers, though. As I'm saying this to you guys, I'm saying it to me, where we can have the biggest issue with boundaries, okay? And like letting go of other people's stuff. So there might be some stuff from other people's poo-poo, you know, their own issues that you need to release at this time, in particular from friends, siblings, cousins, local community members. That is all Gemini. So let me know how you're doing, Cancers. Hope that resonates. Sending lots of love your way, and have an absolutely magical full moon in Gemini. And speaking of the Geminis, happy annual full moon in Gemini to our Gemini sun, moon, and risings. How are you all doing? This is a very cool annual full moon in your sign for all y'all, happening, of course, in your 1st house of your foundation in life, your physical body, your identity, how you show up in the world. So whenever we have our annual full moon in our sign, this can be a very powerful portal of, interesting that I keep hearing this word for all of us, recalibration, cleansing, letting go of what no longer serves. And also very good, Gemini, for you to put yourself in the spotlight at this time, showcase your gifts and talents. You Geminis are very multi-talented. We all know that. We've got your ruler Mercury in Scorpio in your 6th house. So highlighting also at the time of this full moon, your health, your day-to-day work and office spaces, your pets, and Mercury, which is your ruler, in a grand water trine in your work and income houses. So as you cleanse out, as you get even more into an alignment and empowerment, it brings good news and positive opportunities for work and for income. I'm hearing Spirit say to you, Geminis, don't sell yourself out and do not sell yourself short. Okay, so you're very talented. You're extremely intelligent. You're one of the smartest signs. Do not underestimate yourself. Don't let other people underestimate you. Always be in your value and your self-worth. And I think maybe a lot of you have already been thinking about this. You've been going through this Jupiter and Cancer transit in your 2nd house of your values and self-worth. So Jupiter expands wherever he's transiting over. You know, it's important to be in alignment with your values, your authenticity, to have abundance, clarity, and enjoyment of life. So just putting that out there to you. Could be good news also for health, anything that has to do with pets at the time of this full moon with Mercury in your 6th house. And yeah, wishing you all a fabulous full moon in Gemini. Believe in yourself and be your badass, talented selves. Love you all very, very much, and see you next time. Taurus, sun, moon, and risings, my fellow Taurus placements. How are we doing out there? I don't know why I'm randomly doing these accents. Virgo and Gemini energy for some reason gets me into doing all my crazy accents. So sorry about that. We're having this full moon in Gemini happening in our 2nd astrological house. Ooh, the Taurus ruled areas of life. This is our home house. We love this shit. It's all about our values, self-worth, pleasure, enjoyment, food, physical resources, comfort, nature, stability, all that kind of stuff. So we can be really feeling with this full moon in Gemini like we're in our Taurus mode, okay, which is great. We're one of the lighter signs in astrology, but one of our challenges is stubbornness, okay? And this is a full moon, so it brings up our shadow side. We've got this Scorpio, Sagittarius, stellium of planets, transiting over our 8th house in an opposition to the moon in Gemini. So it's kind of asking us, what needs to be released in terms of the words that we speak, the information that we're taking in, that's not in alignment with our values, self-worth, and our natural energy. Okay. Is there words that we're speaking, affirmations that we're saying, information that we're taking in on a regular basis that's actually like blocking our abundance, blocking our pleasure, not enjoyable or pleasurable? Okay. This is a great full moon for us to be in our element, but also doing some cleansing, release, conscious work about what is in alignment and what is not when it comes to our values. And we've got the ruler of this full moon, Mercury, in our 7th house of love, committed relationships, other people, our aesthetic. Venus house, so we've got the full moon in a Venus house and Mercury, the ruler, in our sister sign, Libra, Venus house. So there may be intense Scorpio conversations, Mercury, that we're having with others. I forget what was the other sign that I said this to as well. Sorry, I can't remember, but there's another sign that also, like you, might be having a lot of people drawn to you at the time of this full moon to have intense conversations, that might want to be going through their wake-up process with you. I think most of the people here, if you're on my Moonbeam channel, unless this is the first time you've ever seen me, I consider myself to be a truther and into all that crazy alternative stuff. So, there's more people waking up on the planet that they may know that about you, Taurus, if you are one of those Taurus placement people, and they may want to be conversing with you about Scorpio, some of these more intense subjects about what is going on. So you may be in a supportive role for a marriage partner, love partner, coworker. 7th house of Libra, committed partnership. There may be intense conversations needing to happen about things. And you've got that grand water trine, including Mercury at the time of this full moon, in your air houses of networks, friends, social connections. There can be good news about a relationship or relationships or a network. So yeah, let me know what you think about that, Tauruses. Hope that resonates with you, and have an absolutely magical full moon in Gemini in our 2nd house. Last but not least, I know you Aries do not like it when I put you last, but you've got the timestamps, and I'm sure many of you guys just go straight to the Aries, which is fine. Aries, sun, moon, and rising, how are we doing? Happy full moon in Gemini. Of course, it's happening in your 3rd house of Gemini. So you might, if you haven't listened to the first half hour of this video, you might want to rewind, because all of what I said is really going to apply to you big time. This is a full moon where, there can be a lot happening, a little bit of an information overload, busy. Important conversations are being had, intense conversations can be happening. It's a beautiful full moon for you to be spending time with friends, siblings, community members, cousins, coworkers in your local community. Go out into your local community and pay attention, Aries, to the information being revealed to you. The dispositor Mercury is in Scorpio in your 8th house. So there can actually be positive breakthroughs and good news having to do with secrets being revealed or intense information being revealed that I'm hearing spirits say liberates you. There's a liberation that can be happening for you, Aries, with this full moon in Gemini. Also, Gemini in astrology rules talents, being multi-talented, being a jack of all trades. So with this full moon in your 3rd house, maybe there's a new or old talent, interest that comes to the surface that you might want to be getting into again. And with the grand water trine at the time of this full moon happening in your water houses, including Mercury in the 8th, you may be feeling emotionally more sensitive than usual, needing to take a little bit more rest, breaks, self-care. That is all good. This is going to be a very enlightening full moon for you and for all of us. And definitely speak your truth, Gemini, and very good full moon to be communicating, signing important documents. Mercury is now direct doing any Gemini related things. Love you all very, very much. And wow, we have gone through all 12 signs for this full moon in Gemini. Thank you all so much for joining me. And even though it's the beginning of December, I'm going to say happy holidays, happy holiday celebrating season, happy full moon in Gemini. Thank you all so much for supporting my work. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'd really appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. If you press subscribe, consider leaving a comment below and maybe sharing with someone who you think might enjoy my content. Check out my 2026 astrology webinar for all 12 signs happening live December 4th, 5th, 7th, and 8th. There is unlimited replay access for those who cannot come live, and you can sign up at megmoonbeam.com. I'm going to do in-depth forecasting for each of the signs in the collective for our year ahead. Also, over at the Scorpling Shop, Sunny and I's Crystal and Astrology Boutique, we have a 10% off holiday sale happening for the whole month of December. You can check that out at thescorplingshop.com. And I am offering personal readings and also gift certificates on readings. Those are available at my website. And my readings, I think, are now booking into almost March of 2026. So if you want to have a reading with me in 2026, definitely going to want to book sooner rather than later. Love you all so much. Have a magical full moon month of December, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye, everybody.